Montclair State University President Dr. Susan Cole, today on Carpe Diem. For the past 19 years, Dr. Susan Cole has served as president of Montclair State University. In that time, she's done nothing less than transform both the physical campus and educational breadth and depth of the university. The school's enrollment has grown by over 50% to now over 21,000 students, coming from across the state, the country, and the world. Recent accomplishments include building the university's highly successful nursing program, completely invigorating campus residential life through spectacular residence halls and recreational facilities, and leading Montclair State to its new classification as a public research university and Carnegie classified research doctoral institution. Dr. Cole, welcome to Carpe Diem.
Thank you.
You know, in this neck of the woods, we are most excited about this spectacular new 105,000 square foot School of Communication and Media facility. And so we have everything here, including this brand new studio that we're sitting here that seems apropos to any production facility in the country, whether it's network and so forth. We have presentation halls, we have a great new radio station facility, pretty much everything you could ever ask for in a communication facility. This was really a vision of yours for quite some time, and something you've been thinking about and obviously working on for several years. I just got here, and as the new director of the School of Communication and Media, I get to walk into this wonderful space. But what was the genesis of the idea? What made you say, you know, what's next for Montclair State is this wonderful new school and this wonderful new facility?
Well, there were a couple of things. The first is historical in nature. Montclair State was one of the leaders in educational TV way back when. We were doing work here on this campus in a little shack that with major networks thinking about how you use television for educational purposes. That was a very long time ago. And so from that time on, the university had developed a rather strong tradition in broadcast programs and also had a large communication program. And so a number of years ago, I thought, one of the things that the university really needs is a large and excellent professional program. We were growing as a university, and that was one area where we hadn't really grown that much in professional schools. I knew that New Jersey did not need another law school, and we certainly weren't going to be building a medical school. But we did have this tradition of real excellence in communication and media broadcast programs, film, areas like that. And we put those kernels all together into a concept of a new school of communication and media. That's really where the idea came from, and we worked at that for a couple of years.
So, this is probably going to get me in trouble because I think your answer might be that's your job, Keith. But what, in your mind, what are the things that you hope the school will accomplish, whether it comes to curriculum, whether it comes to faculty, whether it comes to partnerships, media creation? What, in your mind, is the output of this school? Yeah,
Keith, that is your job. But and you really said it. What we hope for in this school is that the students who come through it will have an absolutely superb and cutting-edge education, that they will be able to leave the School of Communication and Media, as they are in fact doing now, and go across the river and in New Jersey and around the country, California, everywhere, and work in the industry right at the front edge because of the training that they have received here. We will also want to be able to serve the industry. There is a large communication industry. We sit right on the edge of New York City. We can see it from this building. And so we have the opportunity to build incomparable relationships with the industry and enrich the program in that way, and also enrich what they're doing. I think everybody understands that we're at a moment in history where the whole field of communication and media is evolving incredibly rapidly. So there is no point in educating students for a prior century. We need them to be right at the front edge of what is happening, and by the way, to become the people who are going to imagine what happens next.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, right? That this discipline and this field just keeps evolving.
That's
more
right.
and more. We're in 4K technology. I suppose my kids are going to be in 50K technology. We're going to be able to see all the creases in everyone's face. So how does
how exciting that
would
be?
Oh yeah, wonderful. How does a school like ours, how does it stay current?
I think we stay current by one thing in particular, and that is our people. We continue to recruit new people to the institution. One of the promises I made a long time ago when I first came is there would never be a year at Montclair State University with a good budget, with a bad budget, hard times, tough times, it didn't matter. There would never be a year when we did not recruit new faculty to this institution, because we have to keep growing in all of our disciplines. And as we said, both of us just said, the world is evolving rapidly. We need people bringing the latest knowledge, the newest ideas. And so that's how we do it. We keep bringing new ideas, new people with their ideas into the institution. We keep refreshing ourselves. Of course, our students refresh us every year. They come in the thousands, all brand new ones.
Yeah, that's what's always fascinating to me is when you bring in a new group of young, bright students, they teach you all the things that you thought you knew. And so I have the same experience, even with my kids who are 7 and 10. One of them introduced me to his own YouTube channel, at which point I realized I needed to do A, some better parenting, but B, recognize just how technologically advanced that next generation has already become. Now, communication comes in a wide variety of forms, and some of it is the technological base of the industry, but communication as a tool, as a leadership tool, is also very important, and it's the foundation of industry, of academia. As the leader of a very complex and large and robust, and academia can be unwieldy, communication is vital to your job. How would you describe yourself as a communicator? What are the tools that you use for effective communication? As a leader, what are the communication tools that you use?
I think one of the pieces of communication that became very clear to me when I first started to be the president of a university, which was a long time ago. It's my second presidency, and this one I'm in my 20th year, so it's been a long time. But the first point that was really clear to me is that leaders have to speak the truth. You have to be able to tell people what is real, not to obfuscate, not to hide things, not to push them away and hope nobody thinks about it or wants to know about it. So my style is to be clear, very direct, very transparent, and to do my absolute best to tell the truth. And my second rule is there is no such thing as too much communication. It takes a lot of telling for people to hear. Just think about it. I mean, people talk to each other all the time. Are they really listening most of the time? My kids tell me I never listen to what they say. I say, I hear it, I hear it.
I hear, I'm not listening.
Not listening, but I hear it, right. You have to be able to convey your message in many ways and many times if you really want to be heard. And listening carefully, of course, is the other side of that.
Yeah. Who do you admire as a leader?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that question, and honestly, I'm not going to give you an answer. And the reason I'm not going to give you an answer is because I think that if we're going to press the world forward in a positive direction, we have to stop thinking that it is somebody else's job other than us, that it is those leaders out there who are going to build this world for us. It's us. It's all of us who are going to build that world. So when I see somebody who is really trying to do their job well, who is trying to think carefully about what is the right thing to do, who is exercising the courage to do that, I see a leader. And I think they're all over the place. And I wish there were more people who really understood themselves as the leaders. I tell people on the university campus, you're all educators. And by that, I mean everyone who works here is an educator and consequently a leader. People are watching everybody, and they are responding to what you say and what you do all the time. There are no inconsequential communications, and there is no inconsequential act in the world today. We're all leaders.
Yeah, it reminds, it's the relatively famous saying, lead from where you are, suppose, which is, can be effective, assuming you're
lead from where you are and know where you want to go.
Yeah. So I'm curious, I mean, we're talking about communication and media. I know you're busy. I assume you're busy.
A little busy, yeah, I'm a little busy.
But you must consume media in some way, manner, or form. I'd like to know what it is you watch, read, listen to, and how do you consume it? So are you attached to your phone? Are you a tablet person? Do you read print publications? What kind of shows? Do you have kind of a guilty pleasure? You know, is it maybe like some Iron Chef? There must be some. What is it that you watch, and how do I have lots of guilty pleasures when it comes to media, so that would be a whole other episode.
It's not the Iron Chef.
No, you should try. Shark Tank? Shark Tank? No, not Shark Tank?
No. No. I start my morning with coffee and NPR. That's how I find out that the world is still here today. No general
it's affirming, yeah.
General gist of what I expect to see out there when I go out the door. I like to read newspapers. I like to read the print version. I read the New York Times. It is my paper. But I also read the Jersey papers because they are the rumor sheet and they tell me who's done what to whom.
Yeah. Need to make sure you are or not in there. You want to find out what people are saying.
That's right. In the evening, if I have a bit of time, I would like to watch the BBC News, get a touch of what it looks like from around the world.
Yeah. But no entertainment media?
You mean, do I watch television?
Sure.
Yes, my favorite is Masterpiece Theater. I am an absolute Masterpiece Theater freak.
Now, I know we're in the communication and media school, but I'd like to talk a little bit more about the rest of the campus, because I hear there's a whole big campus out there with 21,000 students. One of the major new projects going on right now is the computer science facility. I'd love to hear your perspective on the importance of computer science as a discipline both here at Montclair State University, but more at large in, I suppose, the future of higher education.
There are a lot of students who are really interested in the technology of what is and is going to increasingly make everything run in our lives and in the world. And so, yes, the computer science program, information technology, big data, all of those things are tremendously important, and we're building very strong programs in all those areas. And the students are coming in large numbers to study in those programs. So, as with other programs on campus, it was in need of new and expanded and much refreshed facilities, and so we have renovated a building on campus that will become a really wonderful headquarters for all of that type of study on the campus. And it will be, I am certain, quite filled with students. We've done the same things with the business programs, with a terrific new facility where there really was nothing before. There is now everything. Communication and media, where there is, by your own admission, everything, so don't be coming to me for a budget request anytime soon.
We can't get something on record here now?
No.
Okay. I think we just did, actually.
And the science facilities we've built recently are spectacular and will help us tie particularly the life sciences to some of those industries that are really important in the New Jersey economy. So everything that we build on campus is really a question of how do we move a discipline that's really important for students to understand and be involved in today's world, that's important to our economy, and move it forward so that it can be at the front edge. This university is a front edge university. We don't like to sit in the past, and we are not afraid to tackle the new disciplines and the new ways of thinking that tomorrow is clearly going to bring.
So in that answer, you talked about a lot of the STEM fields. Obviously here at Montclair State, you've put a lot of effort behind growing our STEM education, but how do you get students before they get here involved in STEM education? I mean, I have kids and I want them to be very conversant in those fields. What do you think as a leader in education, how do we make STEM more important and more accessible to students, in high school, junior high school, and even before that?
Well, that's an interesting question, because about 10, 12 years ago, we were really worried about that in New Jersey. Students in the high schools weren't studying science, they weren't coming to college to go to science. A lot of institutions felt that if they needed students to populate their science programs, they had to import them literally from other countries because American students weren't moving forward in the sciences. That's no longer true. We worked on that a lot, not just us, but a lot of universities, a lot of schools, a lot of communities. And now students do want to study in the sciences. They are coming in droves to study in our life sciences, biological sciences, molecular biology, chemistry. They are coming in droves. They really want to study in those fields now. We just talked about computer science and all of those areas. Environmental science, sustainability science. The students are coming. And the issue now for a state like New Jersey is, do we have enough facility? It's one of the reasons why we built the new science facilities that we did. We were literally out of laboratories. We could not squeeze another faculty member or another science student into the buildings, and we had so many who wanted to come. Now they can come, and the facilities are first rate.
I want to talk a little bit about your philosophy about higher education in general. And it's, in essence, in your DNA, as you suggest. And your family or your parents immigrated to the U.S. and came to Brooklyn Heights. Is that correct?
Well, they came to Coney Island first.
Sure.
But
So one of my favorite spots. My family's also from Brooklyn, and my grandfather was born in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And you've talked about the fact that your parents really believe strongly in education. And while they may not have had the formal education, they took advantage of every educational opportunity here in the U.S. Free courses at Cooper Union. And they felt it was vital for you to have all the educational opportunities that perhaps they didn't have. My mom, my uncle grew up in Brooklyn, both went to Brooklyn College and took advantage of the wonderful, at that point, free education that was available to them, and one of the best educations in the country. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of ensuring that education is accessible to a wide swath of the American population, and making sure that education doesn't further divide us, but rather, in essence, can be the great equalizer? And how do we do that in face of the kind of budget cuts that you face every day?
I think absolutely. I believe to the very core of my being that if we are going to have a free and prosperous democracy, if this republic is going to be what we envision for it, we must provide education to the people. And that doesn't mean just the elite few. When people talk about the fact that, well, not everybody has to go to college, they're not talking about their own kids. They're talking about somebody else's kids who maybe don't have to go to college. I think for today's world, you do have to go to college. You may not have to get a master's degree or a doctoral degree, but you need a baccalaureate degree, or you need a very, very solid associate's degree in a particular area if you want to get started working productively in this economy. 80% of Americans go to college in public institutions, and that means that the country literally depends on public higher education. If the 80% are not well served in these institutions and can't afford to go to public higher education, we won't have a nation that we want to live in. We won't. It will not be prosperous. Socially, it will have innumerable problems that we will be constantly fighting. Our people must be educated. That goes back to Thomas Jefferson, who, if I wanted to point to a particular hero of mine, he would be it, though not a perfect man. I think his thinking...
Very few people are.
Right. I haven't met one yet. But I think his thinking about the democracy and about education are still vital today. We must educate people if we are going to have a genuine democracy. And we are not doing as good a job right now. There are too many people who are falling through the cracks, who can't make it to college. There are too many people who are dropping out because they can't afford to keep paying for it. These are systems, these are policies that can be fixed. We just have to have the will and the courage as a nation and as a state here in New Jersey to face the policy issues and to fix them. We'll regret it if we don't.
Yeah. I want to shift a little bit to another aspect of higher education that many people suggest could use some fixing. Talk about college sports. I'm a former collegiate athlete, not a very good one, but a former collegiate athlete, and I believe very strongly in the power of it. But I also understand so many of the shortcomings, and certainly this past week we've seen one in particular, or a couple in particular, that have come out of an FBI report. What's the function of college athletics here at Montclair State, and what do you think the future of college athletics are for the university?
We are a proud Division III institution. We have a very strong intercollegiate athletics program, but it is based firmly on the notion that we are developing student athletes, scholar athletes. A few of them will go into professional sports and have successfully. Some of them will go into sports education and have successfully. We've trained coaches that are working all over the state in schools and elsewhere. And many of them will become directors of schools of communication and media, presidents of universities, editors of newspapers, doctors and lawyers. They're scholar athletes. The athletic experience is something that contributes to their education. This institution is here to educate people. We are not trying to be a farm team for the pros. We are looking at students and helping to understand what we can do to make their lives richer and more effective. The arts is one thing we focus on. Athletics is another thing we focus on. These all help produce an engaged, active, and contributing citizen.
So I think I know the answer, but do you see a future where Montclair State might move up to a different division, whether it's Division II or even Division I?
If there is somebody out there interested in funding it, I would certainly consider it. Until that moment in time, it's just not possible.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left here on the program. I'd like to know what's next for you at Montclair State. You've got the communication and media building, computer science is certainly on its way, business is great, nursing is great. What is your next step?
Well, the next big thing that is happening is the creation on the campus and a building to serve it that will integrate all of the student service areas into something that is coherent for the student. So right now, as in many universities, the registrar is over here, the advisors are over there, the disabilities support is over here, the tutoring is there, financial aid is there, and it's hard for the students to navigate all of the things that we have, and we have lots of things to help students succeed at the university. So what we're doing in the next big step is taking all of those services and integrating them together, creating a one-stop place where students can come in and see a person to whom they can ask all the different questions and who can help them solve all the different problems and get access to all the different services that we have. We are rebuilding, renovating totally from the top to the bottom College Hall, which was the original building of the institution, built in 1908. And so it's 100 years old, and over 100 years old. And we will give it another 100 years of life and make it a central point for students on the campus to support their success. That's the next big thing. But there are other things.
We have right around 30 seconds. Final question: if you were in college right now and you were starting your collegiate experience, what would you major in and what would you want to do?
Well, that's interesting. I was an English major, and I always say it's a great major.
Oh, I was an English major, the smartest people. After communication majors, of course, you know.
No, I'm not sure it's after. But I think it's a great major because it was for me, because it introduced me to all of the spectrum of world life and culture that I could reach with my mind through fiction and literature and so forth. But if I had to do it all over again, it would either be that or maybe biology.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Cole. It has been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll get you back sometime soon. If you would like more information about this or any other Carpe Diem, you can write to us at the email address on your screen, carpediem@mail.montclair.edu, or call us at 973-655-5158. For Carpe Diem, I'm Keith Strudler. Thanks for watching.